So I am in the beginning stages. I think by around 2018, I will be fully transitioned.
Living as a woman.
Yes. So I got about another year of bullshit.
And this woman's name is Karen.
Karen from Philly, yes. Hi, hey, Steve, how are you?
Okay, now that's that's Karen's voice.
Temporarily, it is hi. Evidently, Karen is just me slower and like barely feminine, but I am actually signed up for voice therapy at Temple University now. So I'm looking forward to having a better voice. And they said they can help me. So basically where this jumped off was I have an unhealthy obsession with a stand-up comedian named Joe Matarese.
Okay, now, I think John knows Joe Matarese.
Yeah, Joe Matarese out there, he's done 2 Lettermans. I think he's done a half-hour Comedy Central special. Originally from South Jersey, Cherry Hill area. And then he performed, then he moved to New York. He's been on like Opie and Anthony. He looks like a hipster Abe Lincoln. He has a long face and a hipster beard and a...
Well, I'm going to go back briefly to my real voice for now. Yes, what happened was I'm going through this difficult change, and I first heard, I love podcasts. I listen at work. This is one of my favorites. So I was listening to Nick DiPaolo, and they had on this comedian named Joe Matarese. And I have heard of Matarese, but I didn't really know the connection. And since hearing that, I've really become unhealthily obsessed with him. Not in a sexual way, although I would hook up with him. It's not sexual, and it's not even about stand-up. It's just about his life. And his podcast is called Fixing Joe, and he is boringly attached to. He takes Alexa and some other antidepressants, and so do I, and so do a million other people. So this is a really bizarre thing for him to latch onto
But his podcast has a theme.
Fixing Joe.
Yeah. And that theme is, how would you describe
Making
it?
coffee?
He's trying to get people.
That's hilarious, first of all.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Fixing Joe is making coffee. Yeah. I'm stuck at that. No.
But the theme is he has guests on, and he has some
problems.
questions.
Yeah, and we're supposed to fix him. And what's happened is that I first heard him on Nick DiPaolo, and I became attached to his pathetic life. Okay, but it's beloved. I love him. I love my Joe. And what happens is, so he's supposed to get fixed with his medicines, and his wife is a therapist. And along the way, I totally absorbed it, and I got fixed because what happened is, when I first started listening, I was going through a horrendous time in my life. If you want me to expand on that, I can.
If you don't mind, yeah.
Sure. I have an immense background with narcotics. I'm 8 years clean.
Nice.
But I've been on antidepressants and for about 7 years. And I started going through something that was sort of humiliating. I started to experience what is known clinically as paranoia.
Right.
So it was paranoia on a low-end spectrum. They put me on a drug called Abilify, and I instantly got better. Before I went on Abilify, I found solace calling into the voicemail phone lines, which I later found out was Google Voice of the cheapest person on the planet, comedian Joe Matarese, who I dearly love.
Joe Matarese has an open line for his podcast where listeners and fans can call in and leave a message, and he plays them on the show.
So I started calling ad nauseum, and it got weird. And so I was calling, And the other weird thing was, like, he was running this innocuous podcast where he'd be like, the topic is bowling, so please call and keep it under 30 seconds. Your thoughts on bowling. Okay. And I would call in and go, like, you know, hey Joe, I really love you, and like everything is really hard right now. And it was actually born out of something else, which I'll go into a little bit later. But do we have an example of my calls into the show? Because I think that would best describe what happened. And what happened was I called in so much that it started to become an issue and became like...
Reveal that you were calling in as Karen from Philly.
Right, I'm sorry, yes. I that was the other thing. I love any which way that I can be authentic. So that was... Okay, so that would lead into why I was doing it. Prior to that, I had been calling a man that I fell in love with and never met, okay, on Craigslist. A man named Damon. Damon cut me off, and my therapist said I had to stop calling Damon because I could get arrested. So the initial obsession started with Damon, and
but did he know that you were not?
Yes, no. He called me a sissy. That's what they call that. Like the official sexual term is sissy.
Oh, okay.
And I was his sissy, and then but he bailed on me, and like it was a very Craigslisty kind of thing, and I wanted it to be more because I was so happy that someone was recognizing me as Karen. So then Matarese took over for Damon.
That's what I meant. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Matarese took over for Damon, although now I love Matarese way more than I ever loved Damon. Although I still love Damon.
Now, do you love Matarese in kind of a physical way? Or
no. I would hook up with him probably because I'm real horny. Like I'm on estrogen, and that makes you real horny. But I'm not into him that way, and he's married, and like his wife seems real cool. I'm not even into Joe as a stand-up comic. I'm into Joe as like just the struggling, weird human that he is.
You just love his flaws.
Yes, I do.
You're not banned from his show, are you?
No, I'm the greatest thing that ever happened to him, quite frankly.
And I have proof right here. And this is Karen. This is what I'm trying to set up, is that you call in as Karen from Philly.
Sure.
And leave phone messages.
Hey, Joe.
For the Matarese show.
Okay.
And we have an example of this right now.
All right, go ahead.
And see what we got.
He's checking his voicemail.
Okay. I pulled up the calls, and it's funny because someone wrote on the ConnectPal site where the subscribers go, by the way, which is connectpal.com/Joe Matarese. If you want to subscribe to get to hear all these things that I'm talking about, especially that
he's a good
live
radio voice.
Yeah, with Artie, Jim Norton, and
he's
Anthony
great.
Cumia.
The mics sound great, too.
I love this guy.
We're hearing more than
Karen from Philly, who calls all the time. Somebody wrote like, "Oh, they were creeping her out. It's starting to scare them," and I guess I was getting when you got scared, I got scared, and I'm like counting all the messages. I'm like, yeah, she does call a lot. Jesus Christ, look at all these calls. Look at all these calls. Karen for Philly, Karen for Philly, Karen for Philly, Karen for Philly. Should I be scared? Oh my God, should I be scared? And I don't know. I found this one call that she left. Now, I don't know if this would scare you or not. Let's take a listen. Check this call out.
Is that you playing the music?
You don't have to be afraid. Sorry that I guess it became like obsessive with my calls or whatever, but it's not really like that where you'd have to be afraid. I just was like a big fan. It brought me a lot of joy to call you, and also helps take my mind off some other things. but you don't really know me, so I guess I should. Not come on so strong or whatever, but I don't see why you have to feel unsafe or scared.
Okay, let me ask you.
Is it over? I don't think it should be over. Let's keep playing.
Is that Nick?
Okay, but I do want to ask you.
Okay.
Did he give you any indication he needed to feel scared about?
No. That was something that happened. First his fans started to hate me, and then they started to love me. And then some people started calling in because they couldn't get on unless they talked like this.
Now,
so people were calling like, "Hey Joe, this is like Bill from Buffalo."
That's what I thought. Did you post or somebody else posted that there's fake Karen from Phillies calling in now?
Yes, there are.
Just voices into a machine. But if you want to play that, music when I'm talking, that's cool, because I don't mind being the butt of jokes. I don't mind it because that's life, and I like to make jokes too.
Apparently that's my catchphrase. And I like to make jokes too. As I kill you.
Pretty late. I'm gonna watch the video tomorrow. So that should be good.
Does he know it's you? Does he know who you are?
He doesn't care. He's played my stand-up on his show, and he's into it. Listen to this.
I'm terrified. I am terrified. You realize why they put music in scary movies? That message really isn't that scary. Without the music, but you put that music in, you're like, fuck. Remember those movies where they go, "We traced the call. It's coming from inside the house. Get out of the house." What was it called? A Stranger Calls. We've traced the call. It's coming from inside the house. One man with one fan who was changing sexes and had an obsession with a podcast in a world.
And what's become interesting is that I will now be having a podcast strictly about Joe. It's going to be very obsessive. And I'm talking.
Tell us about this. What's the concept of the podcast?
Well, it's sort of.
This is like a backdoor pilot for your podcast.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm going to have a podcast, hopefully on Laughcast. Start out as a monthly. I'm into it. I have some sponsors lined up. It's just going to be about Joe and his life. And I'll have comedians on, and we'll just monitor his activities and whatever. And some people online are starting to say this is getting sort of creepy, but I don't think so, because there's my point to the person that said that was, there's podcasts about Stern and The Sopranos and Pogs and Harry Potter. Why can't there be one about Joe Matarese?
All about family.
Yeah,
Well, that makes
sure
two about Joe Matarese. There already is one.
Yeah, there is one already.
He does it.
Oh yeah, yes, that's very true, my
I think
friend.
the question they've been asking you is, why should there be a podcast about Joe Matarese?
Because he's I have an eye for talent, and this is the next Howard Stern, in my opinion.
Well, let me ask you. Let me tell you this. I don't know if you know this, but John and Darren listen to Joe Matarese has an FM radio show in the Northeast.
Okay, great.
And in fact, I think Joe might even mention this, but he did a Letterman appearance, and that was the pinnacle of your comedy career one time. Well, he did it on a Tuesday or a Monday, and I had to work with him on that Friday or Saturday, and it was at a freaking VFW hall. You had your biggest comedic moment of your life, and we're doing some Elks Club or something up in North Jersey. It was brutal.
I just wanted to make sure that the the love and the obsession was clearly communicated.
Well, Joe Matarese is kind of a big deal in the podcasting world right now, especially, and also in the legendary radio world. What he did was he had a live podcast where at the Comedy Cellar, the premier comedy club in America, and he decided to have a live podcast that he was shooting for it was a pilot.
Yes.
That he wanted to sell. I guess, I don't know if the audience knew this or what the deal was. Do you know anything about this, Karen?
Yes, I know a lot about it. What happened? I was actually on that show. I don't know if you're aware
Right,
of
well,
it.
we have that coming up.
With Norton and Cumia? Okay, blast it. Yeah, that's totally
But that's
cool.
what happened. His guests were Jim Norton, Anthony Cumia, and Artie Lang. Three radio legends.
Well, here's the problem. Then he took it as, like, he got his balls broken that night. And he was like, this is not cool. This is not what I wanted. And I'm trying to explain to him that this is like what is important in media now. This is what people love. And he's like, no, I'm a more thoughtful comedian than them. And to me, he's acting like Artie is like fucking Gallagher, with like a watermelon, and a baseball bat. Like, and I'm like, no, Joe, this is what people like. So, this happened, and now he's gonna totally change the format of the live podcast. The other thing is, like, Joe is really cheap. I love him to death, but he's really cheap, okay?
Okay, but Karen, let me stop you. And I'll tell you why. We set up what he did. He had a live show at the Comedy Cellar.
All right, but rock that.
He was recording and videotaping for what he thought was a show pilot. But it was basically the fixing Joe concept that Danny described.
Yeah.
And
I know, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I'm not used to this.
Yeah, I know. It's like Burt Ward and Robin here. I don't know. Who are you talking to?
But the concept was that he would have comedians on. He would pick a theme. Am I wrong about this?
Dead on.
And he would say, help me out with this subject that I'm going through in my life, and tell me how you would deal with this.
Total disaster.
And the way that I should deal with this. But he had three of the top off-the-cuff radio comics on his show, and
couldn't
he just couldn't handle it.
Yeah, and couldn't believe that it didn't work.
But he wasn't comfortable with letting them just be funny.
No.
It was an hour of hilarious jokes, them taking the piss out of him, taking the piss out of each other. There were audience questions. The answers were hilarious.
And he's upset.
But he's upset because it didn't fit in with his theme. I would have been happy. If I had done this show, I would have been happy to go to any network and say, this is the pilot for my fucking show.
No. But he's so upset and so stubborn that he's totally changed the format and distanced himself from that success because he simply can't be successful. Okay? Like,
do you think it's that sort of deep psychological thing where he can't be successful?
Well,
or does he just not know what makes a great show?
Well, no. The problem is, like, he has all the talent to be successful, even though he's alarmingly unfunny. Okay, but he's great. He's very talented. Okay, and his stand-up is good, although unspectacular. The problem is when he goes on shows, he's very droll. Okay. But that's not the most annoying thing that he does, and I'll get into some of the annoying things he does later. But the problem is he doesn't, like, he gets in his own way. Like you said, he had Artie. Artie walked off the show. He was so upset about Joe, like, not dealing with it. Right. Artie got up and said, like, guess what, guys? I'm out of here. It was like Doc Severinsen quitting with the Tonight Show. It's just like, it just didn't fit in.
Well, can I play this audio? Because,
sure, try
actually,
it.
Artie just bounced, and this occurred.
I got another one, Joe.
Oh, wait.
And it might sound something like this.
It's Karen calling back from Philly.
This is a gender changer. Is that what you call them?
I don't think they call that.
I'm telling you
I think
guys.
he has.
A gender changer.
What do you call it?
What do I call it? A Good Friday night.
What I was saying was, I don't think that you should too much anymore play up the fact that you're on this antidepressant and that one, and you take that one.
You can't even tell. That's what I tell myself.
Like, people want to know that the celebrities they like have it together.
I don't know what the fuck that
I don't know what that was.
I think that was Chris
But it
Farley
sounded
from
sexy.
the grave.
I'll say.
We should go back to
We got
aggressively
who we got
sexy.
live here.
Comedy Central.
This whole show was really funny because
to everyone except him.
He did a preamble.
Yeah.
But what bothered him, I think he's insanely insecure in the sense that what bothered him was he wasn't the funniest guy on his own show.
I'll also tell you what else bothered him, okay? Like, here's the main problem, okay? Like, I know this guy up and down without ever having met him. Like, not only was he not the funniest person on his own show and that bothered him, but he's very cheap, okay? And, like, what happens is that factors into his decisions, okay? Like, he can't have them on all the time. So now the next time, it's Florentine and the girls from the Guys We Fucked podcast, okay? Like, some people he can control more.
Now, you did mention he's trying to change the theme of his podcast.
Yes, they're doing karaoke this time on the next live broadcast. Yeah,
It's Sudoku.
February 14th at the
Steve,
Village
bring jokes
Underground,
about
yeah.
that. Trying.
Yo, I just want to say this about Joe. At the heart of everything is his cheapness. Okay. All right, listen. I'm going to explain to you all the ways. Okay. This is a person. Okay, I love Joe. Okay, but like I often write him about this. This is the worst thing he's ever done in my eyes. He had a special that he was taping for CISO, and the night before the special, he went to some store in New York City and got a really expensive leather coat that looks horrible. Okay, it's like from, something Paul Reiser would wear in 1985. Like, okay,
I see it right now.
yeah, and then he taped his CISO special, which is funny. Okay, and then the next day he returned the leather coat. All right, you understand the point here with this?
Real quick, it'll take 2 seconds. Totally relates to that. He did that on my site. He did 2 Lettermans. He comes out on Letterman, and he said that afternoon he bought this blue blazer, and he's going to take it back tomorrow. Like, he does this.
Yeah, no, but I'm teaching him not to do that anymore because what he doesn't realize is that affects his karma in his regular life. And these are the type of things we'll be talking about during the new Joe Matarese.
You have a title for your...
But there's other ways that he's cheap. And the biggest way that he's cheap, and I love him to death, is that he inflicts himself on his fans, myself included. I play along. We pay for his existence. He's on something called Patreon. He's filming.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
He's filming 3 videos, which are at best vanity projects. Okay, but the fans are donating. He put a $2,000 GoFundMe-esque scenario on Patreon for these 3 things. If you spent $200, you were an executive producer and got to be an extra. If you spent $100, you were a producer. And if you spent $20, like I did, you got one of those fucking pill cases Sunday through Saturday, where you can put your things in. He also is on Connect Pal. We pay $3 a month for his podcast. And it's unrelenting. And the only here's the cheapest. This is my last point on Joe's cheapness. Okay, he wanted to learn about his listeners, and we are a motley crew. So what did he do? He put a survey up on SurveyMonkey. Okay, and because if you have more than 10 questions, it costs. So he had part 1, 10 questions, and part 2, and the questions were so banal. It was like strictly demographics. But then I didn't even mind that. I didn't get upset until the end when he called it, ladies and gentlemen, a questionnaire. Okay, not questionnaire. It was a questionnaire. Okay, and I lost it at questionnaire.
This guy's an ass.
No, he's a beautiful human, though. Like,
I'm sure he's a good guy.
He's so nice, dude.
I'm sure he's very funny.
He's so nice. He's just got foibles and faults, and it's so identifiable. And I love him. I just love him so much.
In a 2-second synopsis of him, He's married to she's a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and she makes very good money.
Yeah.
And he's the house husband with 2 kids, and he's got it made. He just takes care of the kids during the day, takes them to school. And I don't know why he has to have issues, but I guess that's
that's what's fucking up his career. His wife, who I love to death, but she's fucking up his career. She's like a neurophysicist, but she should get her ass up a couple hours earlier and take care of the kids, so that this guy who has shows on Letterman and stuff doesn't have to get up at like 5 a.m. to drive his kid to tennis camp. Okay, on the night he's doing Letterman. Okay, so Joe will listen to this. His fans will listen. They'll be like, "Wow, Karen was like really critical," but I'm just like laying the foundation.
I don't think you're being critical, man.
So I appreciate that.
You've praised him. You've praised Joe Matarese to the heavens.
Well, he's an incredible interviewer. His podcast is amazing. I totally recommend people giving him money. He loves it. It's like a cat. You know how you give a cat milk? If you give Joe Matarese like $3 to $5 a month, like he gets an erection, the likes of which we haven't seen since Milton Berle. Like
I used to see Joe at the open mic nights, and I will say this is his work ethic. Like he worked at comedy, went to New York, worked hard, got on Letterman again. Like he did the steps you're supposed to do, and he's.
You think he's funny, Joe?
Joe's done the steps.
There
you go.
Well, he
kind of just fully embodies the sad existence that is a struggling stand-up comedian. You know what I mean? Like
that's exactly right, Benny. And Benny, you know what? Benny,
what's up?
You're totally right. And here's the thing, like. He embodies that, but with successes that are way beyond what the people who embody that experience. Like he was on Letterman. Yeah. He was on Letterman, and they told him that Dave said they don't want him back anymore because his material's not smart enough. And yet he still got to go. He still got to go back on. He's very good at the business of comedy.
Yes, that's what I meant.
He's amazing at the business of comedy.
Now, see, here's in my experience, and I think some people would agree with me who won't say it out loud, but I think the people who are more enterprising tend to be less funny.
No, that's if you're funny or have drive. Very rarely do those two mix. That's Steve. That's totally true.
I don't even mean that as a negative, though, man. I mean, he just kind of does fully encompasses that.
And the other great thing that he has that John spoke of earlier was his wife is very successful, and his wife once told him, "Joe, I need you to make $70,000 a year doing comedy," and I think he does, but it's a complete grind. Like he really grinds it out.
It sounds miserable.
All she wants is him to make $70,000. I think he makes like $69,999.84. Like it's just.
Yeah.
They probably give him like 8 J's at Long John Silver for the extra 50 cents.
Yeah.
Danny, is there anything we didn't talk about that you might want to talk about?
Well, we talked about Damon. And Damon did come back into my life, and it was a really horrible thing. I don't mind being Karen right now. In fact, I'll enjoy it. Damon, my therapist made me stop calling Damon, which was fine. They put the fear in me that I could be in trouble for stalking or whatever, even though it didn't rise to that. So I stopped calling Damon, and then I called him on Christmas. Then I called Damon on New Year's, and I called Damon a couple weeks in January once a week. And then in late January, Damon texted me, and so he was like, after a couple texts, he was like, send me, show me that you're a sissy that a master would want to fuck. So I sent him a lot of like risque pictures. And then Damon.
Wait. By risque pictures, what are we talking about?
Like nudes or like for if you're trans, like they want a combination lingerie and nude.
Okay.
Just to keep it going. And then he didn't write me back. He's very cruel, mentally cruel. So the difference is that this time I can say, hey, you know what? Fuck Damon. I'm just gonna keep moving on. So, I guess it's going to be important to explain what is going on, and I hope that I can figure it out too.
I'd like to know.
Yes. I'm obsessed in a healthy way, I would say, with comedian Joe Matarese, who is not a mega star, but is definitely a known comedian who has incredible credits. He's been on Letterman, Chelsea lately. He had his own Comedy Central special, his own special on CISO, America's Got Talent, which will be playing in a little bit. He had a wonderful run on that show. And first, we also want to say that Joe Matarese is not affiliated with this podcast at all. He doesn't sanction it. He doesn't think it's going to be good. But in fact, I think he said it was going to stink, correct?
Yes, I think he said the whole idea of it stinks.
Well, that remains to be seen. I'm not sure. He could be right. But so he's not affiliated with it. He doesn't endorse it. Sure, though, and he said he wasn't going to listen. But
lies.
I don't think he's going to listen. He's like a selfish person in a way, very self-driven. So I don't think he would devote time to something like this. Especially since, I want to make this point, I don't know him. So this is not going to be like inside scoop about his life, at least until maybe he gives me some access to it. So this is really just going to be a discussion about life and society through the scope of his career. He's such an interesting person with a lot of successes and failures that I think we can all learn about life studying some of the mistakes he's made, some of the greatness that he's achieved. It's all so fascinating to me. So what happened was, and I also like Nick DiPaolo's show, and he had on Matarese as a guest. Now, I had been quasi-familiar with Joe's name for my years in stand-up, but truly, being honest, it was never spectacular enough to make an imprint on my life, and I had never seen him. I may have done one show with him, but at that time, I'm 8 years clean. I did so many narcotics that I have like very few memories of when I did stand-up.
I didn't know that there's potential you may have done a show with him.
Yeah, something, some variety show that John Kensel from the Passive Aggressive Hour put on at an old theater that burned down in Philly, but I'm not sure. It's inconsequential because I was so wasted after our part, I wasn't paying attention to anyone else. So anyway, Nick DiPaolo had on Matarese, and the guy was just so honest. And one thing that fascinated me was he was plugging something called the Outside the Box Tour. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But the Outside the Box Tour is where his fans throw the show and act as the promoter. And I was like, wow, he's really putting it out there that he's not getting bookings. And I was like fascinated because he had achieved success, Letterman and stuff like that. I'm fascinated by show business when I see people like one-hit wonders or people that have achieved. And when I was a kid, I always thought like, wow, their song is on the radio. That means they're rich, And it wasn't until I was in show business as a stand-up for 10 years that I realized nobody's making money. It's almost like poker. Nobody makes money. Everybody just spends money trying to be famous. It's all a complete vanity project. And a lot of what Matarese does is a vanity project, unfortunately for him. The calls that I was making, I was obsessively calling him. And at first, I was calling about normal things. But then I was in a bad state of my life and was suffering from low-end spectrum of paranoia. What happened was I was calling this hotline on Joe's show so much because it was a really good place for me to release my feelings and focus on something that was just comforting and a place to vent. And so what happened was the calls were getting insane. I was calling so much, but it was helping because, I wasn't calling Damon.
It's pretty late. I'm gonna watch the video tomorrow. So that should be good.
What the fuck? Oh, God. I'm terrified. I am terrified.
In a world where one man had a lot of problems that he needed his audience to fix, and then one fan became really into his comedy and trying to fix his issues and couldn't stop calling a voicemail. Karen from Philly, the movie. She has the number on speed dial. She leaves long messages that are always exactly three
Hey
minutes
Joe,
long.
how are you? It's Karen. I'm calling from Philly.
There's always a lot of
Monday
wind
night around
whenever she tries to call it.
8:30. I was kind of mean to you on Facebook today.
Oh no.
Not that I didn't read the things I said,
Can't
but
stop calling. She's obsessed. I think she needs to do her own podcast.
Oh.
And she needs to put a hotline so I can call her over and over. She doesn't mind being the butt of the joke. I hope that was true. Karen from Philly, coming this winter to a theater near you.
Wow. That was so amazing. That was amazing. That movie. First I thought it was kind of mean, but I really loved it.
I thought it was hilarious. And I think it's brilliant that we start off the first show with that funny thing that Matarese did. That one and only funny thing that Matarese ever created.
Wow, you're not a big fan?
Not a fan of the Matarese, no.
Why?
Well, I look at it from like a Consumer Report kind of thing. When you first asked me if I had ever heard of Joe Matarese, I think I said what everyone says, like, why do I know that name? I've heard that name before. But then I listened because I wanted to hear your calls, and I became obsessed. Like you're obsessed with your love for him and calling. I'm obsessed with my growing hatred of this creepy man.
Okay. That's a strong opinion, but I respect it.
Oh, thank you.
What is some of the things he does that gets your goat?
Well, Karen, he gets my goat because one of the biggest reasons is the constant begging his fans for money to do all of his projects. And I understand some people do that, but the way he goes about it is creepy and smarmy.
All right, well, let's explain what he's doing. Joe is becoming really dependent on fan-funded projects. He is on Patreon.com, which is like a creative version of GoFundMe, although GoFundMe is a creative version of GoFundMe. So I don't know why he's not on GoFundMe, but he's on Patreon, and he has campaigns to raise money from his fans. It gets a little obsessive. It also it's become almost like a Ponzi scheme. Okay, there's valid projects on there, but like for instance, on the other day, Patreon.com/Joe Matarese, he was charging $1 to watch him hit baseballs. I don't think it's not a jukebox, Joe. Like you should, give us a lot of free content. So people donate like $20, $50, $100, $500, $1,000 to his projects. He's got a web series, these short films that are really low budget, that I don't like. And he's got on there, I think this is good, he's got on there 2 new projects, a comedy drama that he's writing about him and comedian Jim Florentine being brothers, and also a pilot you don't like.
The Fixing My House.
Yes, can you explain that?
It's so obnoxious. I would love to explain that. He would like his fans to fund him fixing things in his house, but calling it a show that he wants to do. Where is Florentine on that one too? I'm not 100% sure.
No, he's going to have guest comedians on.
Okay. And what they're going to do is have contractors come to his house,
right?
Teach them how to fix the things that need to be fixed, and then leave them there to fix the things themselves. The whole thing is ridiculous. I could get behind it if he said, there's a couple comics and we're going to volunteer at Habitat for Humanity and hijinks ensue. I could get behind that. Or we're going to fix up veterans' houses, or, it's going to be called Fixing Ron Poliquin's House. That would be funny and interesting. But to literally call it Fixing My House and say, please give me money so I can get this work done at my crib, I find that off-putting. And I'm shocked at how many people are actually supporting these things, how you're not offended by that. Because I know you are a contributor.
Right.
Correct?
I'm a low-end contributor. I'm good for $20 a month.
Ridiculous.
All right. So maybe that so he's become dependent on these fan-funded projects. He was on Connect Pal, but I think the money was too little that came in, $2.99 a month for his podcast. That was too little to satiate the dragon. And so anyway, I'm fine with him though getting money from his fans, because he's come up with a creative way to deal with the fact that his bookings are not drying up, but they're not what a comedian that's on his level should be. Like, he's been on Letterman. He did Chelsea Lately 18 times. He was on Mark Maron's podcast. And Joe is very good at the business of show business, and he explains it. And he recently explained that just being on Letterman, that doesn't get you like a lot of money. That doesn't get you the hot bookings.
But don't you think the fact that he's not, I don't understand how show business works at all, but don't you think the fact that you're not getting a lot of bookings and a lot of people are not hiring you to do something kind of says something about where you're at? Like, you keep talking about this level he's at, and I don't see him really at that level.
Well,
because 30 years in the business,
right?
Maybe it's not for him.
No, that's way too harsh. He has a problem with, after his gigs, he trashes the clubs a lot. And
the one in Scranton, it wasn't even after. He got on the stage and literally started tearing the place apart, like a 120-year-old theater where people were performing before his grandparents were born. He gets on stage and starts trashing the place and talking about how he had to fix it, how they're good now because Joe Matarese came in there and fixed the place.
Oh, right. He has that stock line, fix this shitty comedy club. Also, I said that we would talk about the Outside the Box tour. What that is, if you want Joe to perform in a town near you, now you, the fans, can make it happen with the Outside the Box tour, sponsored by Yards Brewing Company.
Nice.
It's easy. All you do is find a local venue that holds 40 to 100 or more, such as a small theater, bar, restaurant, Elks Lodge, all performance equipment will be supplied by Joe. He like
wow.
lugs.
He'll actually participate in making it happen, or everybody doesn't have to do the work for him for free.
I don't understand. Like he's gonna like lug around equipment. That's weird.
He'll have a super fan to it.
Is he gonna? That's true too. He might be able to do that.
For a donation of $200, you can lug his equipment to the club farm.
I actually thought about it, and like, I don't know that I can make it happen, but I want to.
What? No.
I want to try that.
All right. Well, let me know how it goes.
So,
since I've been listening to the podcasts, since you mentioned he's such a great father, wasn't it just a couple weeks ago when he was alone with his children and his wife was out of town, and his two very young, very small children were sick?
Right.
And he locked himself in the attic to record his podcast and literally said, "I hope they don't need anything because I can't hear them." So, yeah.
Well, there was a time recently where Joe and his wife, it seemed like they weren't getting along, and all the fans that were active on Connect Pal, all
you
the
and
super
those
fans,
3 other guys.
yes, Joe and his wife were kind of fighting because his wife complains that Joe is like a third child. So one morning, she wanted to talk to him about politics. As a woman, she just wanted to be listened to, and he didn't want to do it. And in fact, he went into another room and just listened to the audiobook Born to Run by Bruce Springsteen. He's become enthralled with that book, and that was really rude. There was also a weird thing, like he's listening to the audiobook and says that he's reading it, which I don't agree with. So I just want to thank everyone for reading this podcast. But no. So anyway, there was an episode where they weren't getting along, and all the listeners and fans thought that maybe there was trouble in paradise, and were worried that they were going to get a divorce. You had a good reason why they shouldn't get a divorce, why that would be bad, right?
Well, yeah, it would be bad for him because, excuse me, because his wife makes the money in the family, so that would probably suck for him a lot. But he'd have his kids every other weekend,
right?
So, when would he do stand up?
Well,
Take his kids to the bar, or?
Well, that was really weird because, in non-joking form, that would be really hard. See, because there is a bad thing that his wife does, I think, that's really hurt Joe's career. Even though she's like a great woman, I don't know her, but she's a great woman, a really smart woman, makes a lot of money, seems very caring. It sure sounds like she gives Joe like way too many chores. Like he's in show business. He shouldn't be saddled with all these chores.
Oh, God, he should do all the chores.
No, like if you're going on Letterman one night, like you shouldn't be like,
When
taking your kids to, tennis camp and stuff like that.
When was he on Letterman?
Twice.
When? How many years ago?
I don't know. Well,
I mean,
oh yeah, actually,
if my man's like, I'm not taking out the trash, I was on Letterman, like that might get you 2 weeks. Take out the trash. He should be doing all the chores. He is a housewife. I compare him to the housewife who gets bored and decides to have a little side job where she makes crafts and sells them at local fairs.
No,
That's how I see him.
You're not.
He should do the chores. He should cook. He should do everything.
No, because she makes more money.
Because she goes to work. Because she has an actual job.
Well, she has said to him apparently that all she needs him to do is make $70,000 a year, and then it's justifiable. A couple times he's gotten a real job, like he was a painter or something for like a day, and
wasn't that 25 years ago?
I don't know, but well, he still paints. He painted his speakers white. Okay, it was very odd. He painted his speakers white. Anyway, so I thought that would be a nightmare to his comedy career if he had to watch his kids during the weekend. That really resonated with me. And then was really interesting on JoeMatarese.com. There's like almost 100 to 200 old episodes, and I found an example of something that happened when his wife went to London for 5 days. Can you play the tape of him on one of the first times he was alone with his kids?
All right.
And I didn't have a babysitter, and my 6-year-old's right over there. And I swear to God, don't look at him, don't look at him. He's really shy and stuff. I hired a babysitter to come over. This is classic. I just have to tell this truth right at the beginning. This is what it's like being a comedian and having kids. He's 6.5 and my daughter's 2.5. And I had them in bed, and I had Monday Night Football on, and I thought I was cool. You know, I was like, I can do this. The babysitter's coming. I even told them, I gave them the disclaimer. I go, babysitter's coming. She'll be here in about 15 minutes. You guys all right? They're like, we're totally fine. My Brazilian babysitter shows up, and my daughter starts shitting her, like just fucking losing her. I just said the F word in front of my kid. The cat's out of the bag. He's never heard me curse. Maybe he has when I spazzed out. I don't know. Probably when I had to wipe his shoulders with diarrhea once. I was like 3. But my daughter lost her mind and said, "Daddy, no!" And then I thought I could just, does anyone have kids here? You guys all look young. Anybody? A parent? You? You know what I'm talking about. When you have a babysitter and the 2-year-old screams, you can just shut the door and leave. And she's 2, she'll get over it. But then he came running down the steps and he was like, "No, don't go!" I was like, "You gotta be kidding me. I'm getting the double don't go." So I go, "You're coming." He's like, "All right." And then I just threw his shit on and we came, and I didn't even tie his high tops. It's unbelievable. And then I'm driving down here and I'm thinking of all the jokes that I can't do in front of him. I might weird my kid out. He's like, "My dad's a filthy comedian." I'm pretty clean, you know. Let's start with the jokes I could do. This is hilarious. I'm taping this. I'm gonna play this for his mom. His mom's in London right now. Are you guys British? Yeah. My wife's in London for 5 days, and I have to watch them by myself. It's brutal. Yeah, I'm doing well. I brought him to a comedy club to hear his dad curse. He's drinking brandy right now. You guys were so nice. Thank you for laughing at me in front of my son. He broke his comedy cherry. Give him a round of applause. 6.5 years old on a school night. Unbelievable. Kid's a legend.
That was a brutal set, but he did turn it around near the end. And so he brought his kid to a comedy club in New York, which, having been in comedy, I think that's weird at any job. That must have been extremely weird to the other comedians in the club.
Sure. Nobody wants a little kid running around that stuff.
Now, I can relate because my father, who was a great man, but like a hippie partier, he used to bring me around to a lot of parties, and I was exposed as a young age. When my parents got divorced, it didn't curtail my dad's partying days. Like, he would take me to adult parties. So the fun doesn't stop during the London exodus by his wife. Later, I guess in that, I don't know, I doubt it's in the same night, but I hope not. But there was another episode while the wife was away of single father Joe that we have to prevent so there's no divorce.
Age 2. I never drank when I was young, so I can't remember if I was just able to just, hey, everybody, be in a great up and ready, focused mood the next day after drinking. So if my wife heard this podcast, she'd be upset with me. She saw that I went and bought alcohol, but she thought it was just wine. But it was bourbon and tequila. Drank mostly the wine. My mother-in-law, not much of the tequila and not much of the bourbon. Maybe like one shot of each. Not on the same night, like separate nights, like one shot, go to sleep, that kind of thing. For some reason, I was anxious. I couldn't fall asleep. All right. Do I have an alcohol problem? I don't, right? Fixing Joe. Send me some advice. So I pick up my wife tonight. Here's something else that's been going on in my head. All of a sudden, I want to dye my hair. My wife's been telling me to keep the gray for a while, and I totally agreed with her. Now it's getting a little bit excessive, and I feel like I don't have a wrinkled face. Some people used to say, and I used to make jokes about this.
All right, cool. Now, I'm really fascinated by their marriage, and because there is something fascinating that's at play here. A lot of Joe's contemporaries are guys who don't have like stellar family situations. They're like New York comedians. If they're doing well, maybe they're making $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 a year in a real grind. It might sound like a lot, even though it's actually not, but there's a lot of expenses associated with that. You always have to have like the nicest clothes and just different travel expenses, and you know, New York is so expensive, and he'll often comment that they live in like real crappy apartments and all. And like Joe has it both ways. He performs in New York and is friends with guys like Artie and Norton and comedians like, you know, Florentine, but he also has this calm family life, and it's actually very cool, you know, but he has started to sort of use it as a weapon in that he thinks he's better than these other comedians who are a you know, uneven sort to begin with. You know, Joe thinks that this makes him a better person, and I don't know that it does, and maybe it does. I don't know, like, because I've never been married, and, you know, obviously I'm going from male to female, and I always look at people that are married and you know, kind of wistfully and think they have a better life than me, but I don't know. Do you have an opinion on this, or?
Well, he plays like both ways. Sometimes he acts like he thinks he's better than everybody else, but then at the same time, the whole, you know, what's supposed to be the premise of his podcast, Fixing Joe, is that he has all these problems.
Right.
But on another day, you talk to him and he's better than you because he's married to to this woman who's a doctor. He has to make up his mind. Is he like, wah, pity me, Joe, I got to take pills and my life is hard and wah? Or is he, I'm better than everybody because my wife makes all this money and whatever? He's just ridiculous.
Well, speaking of that pills thing, before we play an important clip, like, I actually think he needs a new hook. You know, like, everyone like is on antidepressants, like, but he acts like he's special because he's on them.
Yeah, everything. You know, well, the other day, did you see the picture? So I guess he bent over and banged his head on the counter in the bathroom.
Yeah,
everybody has done that in their life, but right away it's because he forgot to take his Adderall. Like, nothing he does,
right,
is like just like it just happened because he's a human being. He's so far removed from being an actual human being. There's something behind it. It's a pill or a lack of a pill, or it's his manager's fault, or
so this came out in his feelings of superiority came out recently in hilarious fashion during an incredible live podcast event he threw at the Village Underground in New York a couple months ago. Starring Artie Lang, Jim Norton, and Anthony Cumia. Those three ended up roasting, not in the classic roast format, but really tear Joe a new one during that episode in hilarious fashion. And we have a great clip from that show that I know you're going to love.
300. What did everyone in the audience laugh twice? I was trying to help Joe out. This is like I could see Ellen's company buying this.
I'll tell you you can have fun with it. I'll just give you the real story.
Dude, you're like the Lusitania sitting in the middle of the sea.
My wife did two really stupid things back to back. Like in
married you and then
Jesus.
No, it doesn't. Did you ask her to sign a prenup?
No.
Okay.
She makes more than me.
All right.
If we get divorced, I get a BMW.
She work at McDonald's?
Just end it here, Joe.
Yes.
Let the band sing something else.
Anthony's so much nicer on his one-on-one show.
This is your show, Elias.
If this was your Eat True Hollywood story, it would say, coming up, Joe invites Anthony Cumia. No, go ahead.
What happened?
What was the second thing?
Yeah.
We got an hour to kill.
Oh, shit.
Why were you arguing about what?
It was, first off, she got in a car accident. She came home.
Holy shit.
She came home.
You start saying funny shit now?
Well,
I know how she feels. I got booked on one. All right, was she okay?
Yeah, really, wait a minute, that's right.
Yeah, we got to make sure she's okay.
She okay?
I hope so. He called her a cunt. In the hospital.
Am I going to be okay?
I don't know, cunt. Are they poking my toes with a pin?
That was an 83 Dodge Dart, you cunt.
I had Rush's first album on cassette.
I guess the biggest slam is I'm married to a doctor and none of you can keep a woman.
Oh, no. Oh, no. So, married to a doctor. Too bad it's not Kevorkian. He's dead. That doesn't even work.
The thing is, it's Dr. Dre.
Yes. And I'll be honest, I don't even know if I want to keep a woman at this point in my life.
Yeah. I want to keep him. I'll keep him for like 48 seconds.
All right, so what happened? She had an argument, an accident. She was okay.
She got in a car accident. She left the scene without getting any. She left the scene without getting anything of the person that hit her in the back of the car. Didn't get their license plate. Didn't get their address. Didn't get their email. Got not their insurance card. Fucking nothing. And that kind of annoyed me.
Sure.
And then 2 days later, she comes walking in the kitchen. She goes, "Oh, I set up that Peapod thing." Well, okay, what's that? She's like, "Well, you order the groceries. I set up Peapod. They're going to be delivering groceries tomorrow." I go, "Well, what time?" She goes, "I set it up between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. I go, "Are you fucking kidding me? That's when I'm getting the kids ready and I got to get them to school." And she's like, "I did something nice for us. What's wrong with 6 in the a.m.?" And then my son
This is so much better than fucking random girls, right, guys? Blows it away. Oh, that sounds great. 8 a.m. for the groceries. Ooh.
Note to self, never marry a doctor.
The last time I got blown, I thought, God, I wish Fresh Direct would interrupt this.
Who's he?
Kid Fresh Direct.
Everybody, you need to definitely watch that live podcast. Joe originally had this on as pay content, but a lot of O&A fans put it up on YouTube, and Joe really bitched, which is weird because he's admitted recently to stealing HBO Go. Is that what that's called?
Yes.
Right. He uses a friend's account for HBO Go to watch Crashing. So definitely go to joematarese.com and check out the live podcast, the first one from Village Underground with Anthony Cumia, Artie Lang, and Jim Norton. It's way better than the second one. The second one is a little bit not as great. It's not horrendous. It's got Florentine and comedian Paul Verzi, and those guys are great. And Joe is great, but I noticed I couldn't listen to it all. It was sort of too weird for me. I mean, I'm gonna end up listening to it all, but I noticed that for a while, like Joe was trying to be like Artie and Jim to those dudes, and it wasn't working.
Nothing worked at all.
And also, like,
thing.
yeah, and also, and I'm glad we didn't do it. I'm glad we're not having that kind of show. Like, sometimes we'll try to be funny, sometimes it won't be. But Joe has a really bad, and I've written him about this, but he never discusses it. He's got a really bad fake laugh.
Yeah.
That he uses on these shows, and he doesn't need to do it, like, because he's a really good interviewer. His podcast, Fixing Joe, is really good. I mean, I'm totally into it, and it's just like something I totally recommend. It's been a whirlwind couple weeks since episode number 1, but before we start, A Plus has an announcement that she'd like to make.
Thank you. It's not really an announcement. I just kind of, on the first show, I regret one teeny thing that I said when I said that I hate Joe Matarese. I feel like that was a really ugly word to be the first thing that I ever said on a podcast ever. And just for my own peace of mind, because it made me feel gross, made me feel icky. I don't like it. So I just want to take the word hate back out of the universe. Can't take it back, but I just want to say that I regret saying that word, and now I feel better about it. So thank you for that time.
So you're sorry to him?
To Joe Matarese? No. I don't give a crap about Joe Matarese. I was sorry to myself because I made myself feel bad. No, I don't give a shit about him.
Well, you were the breakout star of episode 1 online and just everywhere. People really took to you.
Thank you. That's great.
You're welcome. This is a very segmented show, although Steve Reeves on the Passive Aggressive Hour said something interesting, which I hope is true, that you don't have to be a fan of Joe Matarese to enjoy this show. And that's what I'm going for. And in that role, what happened last show was that there was some negativity said, and Joe did not react to it well. He never does. And Joe, I have a message for you. It's not realistic for anyone, even your family, to do a podcast about you and not have there be some negativity. Your own show has a lot of negativity and your problems. So it's a natural thing, man, but you're great, okay? And people love you. And the thing that that most hurt me was I found out about Red Bar, which is some radio show that totally was dissing Joe a couple months ago, and I didn't even know about it because Joe keeps us in a cocoon and of positivity, and doesn't share with the superfans of his that people were dissing him. Now I just want to say that, Joe, you have it. I think you're the next Howard Stern, okay? just like that comedy club audience member that came up to you on your Scranton show a couple months ago and said that you have it. I agree with that, okay? But here's the difference. Here's the difference and what you have to accept, okay? Because you're not being interviewed and you're not being looked at as if people are writers for Tiger Beat magazine, okay? You have to accept that there's going to be negativity and criticism. You're a celebrity, okay? And here's what you have to do, like Howard Stern. Howard Stern brings his critics to the forefront, okay? He gives them light, and then he destroys them. So I would like to see you do the same thing with the people that have a lot of negativity towards you. Even if it's me sometimes, or A Plus, or Red Bar, you have the capability, and you do have it. Red Bar isn't shit, okay? So, Joe, you could have taken those dudes on and dominated them.
Wow. Okay, if I could disagree a little bit, Red Bar is friggin' fantastic. I didn't know about Red Bar, so thank you to Joe Matarese. I found them through doing research about Joe, because if you Google Joe Matarese, you're going to end up on Red Bar. So it's only been this week that I even heard about them I'm completely hooked. They're hilarious. The stuff that they've said about Joe, I agree with 100%. They weren't just being negative, not for no reason. They were pointing out things that are true about Joe. And he should have embraced that. And he should have listened to some of the stuff that they were saying. I joined the Barmy. I support Red Bar.
Those guys are dorks, okay?
You're a dork because don't talk about my friend Sven like that.
No, Sven is cool. I like Sven.
Sven is awesome.
Yeah,
Mike's incredible. Mike is hilarious.
No.
Everybody check out Red Bar. It's so funny.
No, listen, I devour everything. And Nance, we'll get you involved in the mix soon.
Okay,
This is just something that you didn't check out.
That's
fine. I devour any and all information about Joe Matarese. And I can only stick with the first hour of Red Bar, which is like this radio network, online radio network. And they're not making any money. Okay, they are brutal. All right.
How do you know how much? Why would you even say they're not making any money? You don't know how much money they're making.
They're not. Okay.
Okay. Well, who cares?
And they're not so great. So they're dissing.
I'm not making any money.
So anyway, they. Okay. So anyway.
Nobody's paying me to sit here and talk shit about Joe Matarese for an hour.
All right, so
worry about their money.
So A+. All right. So but what I'm saying is, so they had 6 hours of content where they were just dissing Joe. So I had to bail after the first hour.
But they had reasons to be talking about Joe Matarese because of him being. They said some things about him. They were talking about the live podcast, which we even played a clip of and goofed on a little bit.
Right.
Joe didn't like it. So Joe and the 4 people that liked Joe all called. They were part at the time of Anthony Cumia's network. I'm still trying to figure this all out. Compound Media. I never heard of any of this until this week, but trying to piece it all together, they were part of that at the time. So Joe and his army of whoever all start calling this Compound Media crying because they're friends with Anthony Cumia and nobody's allowed to pick on Joe Matarese. It turned into a whole thing. So Red Bar said, we're not going to censor ourselves. We're leaving. So Joe Matarese was affecting their lives at that time.
Good. And actually, like, I'm saying that he should come on and with his fans destroy Red Bar and let us in the loop. But if he was doing it behind the scenes, kudos to him. Okay.
But that doesn't even make any sense.
Well, no, he stomped on them. Okay.
How did he stomp on them? They're more popular probably now than before. They got my money out of it. I had never heard of them.
That's ridiculous.
You're being crazy.
Okay.
You don't go running, calling the boss like, wait, they made fun of me.
All right. Well, first off, they were way too mean. Okay, for who they are. They are nothing. Okay, and so
dude has been doing that podcast for 15 years. How can you say they're nothing?
Red Bar is nothing. Quote me, tag me.
I'm telling Sven. I hope Sven's haircut unfollows you.
All right,
on Twitter.
So let's play. Here's how misinformed they are. I want to play a clip from them where the guy describes Joe's fan base. I don't know, Muff, if you have that ready or if you need to explain it. Or ask me about which one that is. It's the first one from Red Bar.
This is perfect.
But this is what happens when, and I hate, this isn't a diss on him, but this is what happens when you don't have any fans. You have no room, to do anything but be funny. Like, Joe has not built up a fan base. If there's anyone who's a fan of this guy, like literally follows what he does or buys stuff about him, let me know. And I will give you $1 billion fucking bucks. But I can't imagine anybody being like, I wake up and I think about Joe Matarese. And he's doing stuff that only people with fans are able to do.
Like if you invite like a bunch.
Well, no, he does have fans, Mike, and he has way bigger credits than you. And
he was on Letterman 35 years ago.
Yeah, Chelsea Handler 18 times. Craig Ferguson, although it seems like everybody's show that he goes on, they lose the show. But no, so he's way bigger than those guys. And although they did get in, they said some really mean things that I can't play here because of the vulgarity. But They did do something funny. If we have the other red bar clip, it's Mike's impression of Joe.
You guys ever have that moment where you go to the car, you open the door, and then you realize you forgot your coffee on the kitchen counter? And then you got to pick up 2 kids and you got the pea pod going? Come on.
What happened with the wife, though?
Is this thing on? Is this crowd even lit? I mean, I come out here, man, this crowd stinks. Anyway, you ever have that thing where you ask your wife, hey, how you doing? And she goes, not now. I mean, what's with wives? Why do they never want to talk to you?
That's got to be what his act is. Now, we'll watch his act after this.
It's pretty much that.
No, he's extremely funny.
That's great. I love it.
Great comedian. Now, before we get our guests involved, we also just the excitement of our first show and whether or not Joe would listen to it. Now, it's up for debate whether he did. There's some evidence that suggests that he did, but he never ever came out and said that he listened to it. In fact, he made a big deal for 2 weeks about that he wasn't going to listen to it because a lot of his fans were telling him that A+ was super duper negative, and all this was going on as he was trying to focus on writing a important pitch project for his career aspirations in Hollywood, and it almost was sort of like our first marital fight. You have that, Seamuff?
What episode was that?
31.
Oh God, of course. Why wouldn't you have Karen from Philly? Not even gonna screen it. I'm just gonna play it. Let's go, Karen from Philly.
Hey Joe, how are you? It's Karen calling from Philly.
All right, we gotta lower this.
Been a whirlwind evening. Whole thing blew up on Patreon about our podcast of you having negativity in it. Yes, it did. But it also had positivity. But I'm real sorry for
All right. I could almost probably explain Karen from Philly's podcast during her pauses. Karen did a podcast that I guess like a super fan podcast, I guess, and posted it on my Patreon and then wanted me to retweet it on Twitter. And then I started seeing a few people write like, "Oh wow, her one of her co-hosts is just shitting on you big time. Some real bitchy girls just going off on you, like meaning me." And I'm like, "Well, why would I retweet it if I'm being just completely shit on?" And to be honest, I've been so busy with writing this document, I haven't listened to the episode. I don't know what it is. I'm sure I just get shit on by somebody for being whatever I am. I don't know. And that's probably what it is. So I will eventually get to it, Karen. Let's hear the rest of your call.
hurting your feelings.
You didn't hurt my feelings. It's fine.
Being guilt by association with negativity. I don't really.
I said something on Twitter. I said, when you're on a show and the other person who's like your co-host is going off on somebody, like who's me, you're guilty a little bit. And I compared it to like OJ, that final crime he did where he's doing time, 9 years to be exact, and he's up for
Love this guy.
parole. I guess this summer he's up for parole. Did 9 years. And a lot of it is because of those other guys he was with. I don't think OJ pulled the gun, but he was there with a guy who pulled a gun. So they gave him 9 years. Now, I said, you're a little guilty. I mean, at least let me know in advance. What if I would have just hit retweet? I'm like, it would look weird, wouldn't it? If I'm like, hey, let me retweet this thing where someone's shitting on me for an hour. I don't know if you would retweet it. I mean, I'm fine with it being out there, but I don't know if I would actually retweet it. Hey, Joe, you suck. Retweet. Like, why? All right.
believe in that kind of or something, but I don't like that you're hurt or something by it, or not hurt by it, but some kind of negativity. But the thing that bothers me most is that you're trying to work on some pitch project and you feel like this is bothering you. I didn't want to, like, be somebody that blocks your creativity, you know. It's a bad spot to be in. Creative blocker. Anyway.
I love that term. I like hurt my man.
It's okay if you don't listen or you don't retweet. I don't care anymore about that, okay? I mean, I'm still going to do the podcast, but if you don't listen, you don't retweet, not a big deal, okay? I thought you might have liked it, but it's cool. I'm good. I just don't want to be burden for you, okay? Sorry.
All right, Karen. Now, I'm fine. I'll listen to it. I'll listen to the next episode. The only thing I said is that I probably won't retweet the one where you're just shit that, you know, someone's on there shitting on me, because it would just, I don't know. I'm not going to, I don't know. Some people would say, just fucking retweet. I retweet all the negative things. There's a difference between retweeting like a negative comment and retweeting like an hour-long podcast where they're ripping on you for an hour. I don't know why I would retweet it. But the next episode, if that doesn't happen, I'll retweet it. Does that make sense? I don't want to sound like I'm being a pussy, and I don't want to retweet something that has negativity on it. But, I mean, that's, most people don't retweet that. They'll read it, they'll see it, they'll listen to it, but retweeting, usually you're not going to do with the negative things. Makes sense. Okay.
So Joe, back in the beginning of this month, did a show in Christiana, Delaware. Okay? So he said on his podcast that it was a last-minute show. It wasn't great money, but the money was okay, and he went down there last minute. It's at a firehouse, blah, blah, blah. So he gets, then the next podcast after the show, he trashed this town and everybody in it. It was disgusting. And I'm pretty sure we have a clip of that. Oh, hold on, y'all. Wait till you hear this.
What episode was that?
Episode 32.
I also wanted to talk about my last gig. Oh, my God. This past Saturday, I went to Christiana, Delaware. Has anyone been there recently? It was a firehouse in Christiana, Delaware that I got called last minute to do. I ended up doing it. I probably shouldn't have. Just because, it wasn't great money. It was okay. It was kind of far. Holy shit. Have you ever been to one of these places where you go, wow, I'm really doing well financially?
Scumbag.
Like, that's how shitty everybody's doing. Everyone's smoking, like, Marlboros out front of the place. Like, I hadn't seen that in a while. Every guy had, like, a hunting hat on or, like, some sort of shitty hat backwards. Flannels. Even the women had, like, flannel shirts on. Like, the women were all beat up looking. Everybody's just drinking Budweiser. And, oh, my God. Everyone was missing teeth. Like, not just, like, one guy. I mean, I might have talked to 10 different people that were missing teeth. Like, lots of teeth. Not just, like, one side tooth. I'm talking front teeth. Like, all of them gone. Like, you ever been to one of these cities? You're like, what the fuck? Oh, my God. Delaware. I guess you get south of Wilmington, Delaware, and it's like, whoa, holy shit. So I didn't feel so good about myself driving home from that gig. Even though, like, they were a nice crowd, they laughed, it went well. But I just went home, like, just feeling kind of shitty. Just like, what do I do? Is what I'm doing. If I had a fucking firehouse. What am I doing? You know? Tough to feel good about yourself unless you did some $5,000 firehouse, which doesn't exist. When you're performing for people with no teeth in their head, you just feel shitty, you know? Like, I don't want to sound like I'm stereotyping, but I guess I am. Ooh, it was a fucking sad situation there, man.
I have so much to say.
Parked my car in like some dirt lot. Ugh.
They have dirt on the ground in Delaware?
So, don't go to Christiana, Delaware.
F you.
That's my little tip for you guys. Don't go anywhere south of Wilmington. And if you do, don't get out of the car until you're in Washington, D.C. That's my tip.
First of all, Joe Matarese, you felt shitty about yourself because you're shitty. And you're a dirtbag for all those things that you just said. You filthy piece of shit. How dare you? I don't care if there were 4 people with no teeth in their head watching your stupid comedy. They had money to buy a ticket to go to the shitty firehouse to see your shitty ass. You dummy. And if there were 10 people sitting there, that's 10 opportunities you had to beg for money so you and Jim Florentine can make a sizzle. Okay? So now, guess who's never going to donate to your Patreon? You dummy. Stupid. Delaware. No one in Delaware is ever going to give you a penny. You jackass. You piece of shit. I better stop.
Too much cursing, yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's cool. It's cool. Thanks, though. That was amazing. Anyway, that was just a brutal ride home for him, and that's one of the reasons why I love Joe Matarese. He said that story on his podcast. Like, that is so ill. It's like so honest. What else you got?
I have this one. I thought this one was a lot of fun. So he was having trouble. You know, you just brought up the pitch projects, and she was helping him write that, I guess. And he'd made some comments that the meetings weren't going the way he wanted to. So he's taken to reading his new self-help audio book. It's called Pitch Anything. It's by Oren Klaff. Joe got the title wrong on his podcast. He called it Pitch, but it's called Pitch Anything. And
that was great.
He played like, I don't know what, like 5 minutes of his audiobook that he's reading.
That was amazing.
Now.
Like
I thought the book was cheesy. I didn't see what that guy was really talking about, but maybe it'll help Joe.
The elephant in the room is that Joe has said that he still has not listened to our podcast. This is episode 3. I find this incredibly hard to believe that a human wouldn't listen to a podcast about them. That's, a month old, 2 different episodes. But I trust him. So even though I find it hard to believe, I have to believe it. And he recently addressed the podcast finally on his show. And we're going to play that clip right now.
Now, I got to go. I guess I still haven't listened to this podcast that they do where they talk about me. Just seems odd to me. I'm not big enough to have a podcast where people are talking about me. It sits weird with me. Anybody else feel that way? It's just odd. I don't know the point of it. I don't know the point of putting the work in to do a podcast to talk about me who's not big enough. I mean, Howard Stern, it makes sense when he used to have the wrap-up show, and then he had other shows that evolved out of the Howard Stern show. But I don't get it. I got to be honest, Karen. I don't get it. I still haven't listened. I got to listen, and I'm not listening because you're making fun of me. It's just I don't have enough time to do my own shit. Does anybody feel that way? I don't have enough time to do my podcasts, my comedy writing, my projects that I'm trying to shoot, watching my kids that, my son's sick again today. He's downstairs taking care of them, doing stuff with my wife, trying to be a good husband, paying our bills, doing the house projects. How the fuck do I get time in my day to go, time to listen to Karen's podcast about me? I mean, I am narcissistic, but I guess I'm not that narcissistic because I haven't gotten to it yet. Now, and I think one of the reasons why I haven't gotten to it is I don't get it. I don't get what the point is. How could it ever get big? I don't know. It sits weird with me. It feels like I'm being fucked with. You know what I mean? Like I'm being punked. I hate to use that hacky word, punked, but that's what it feels like. I'm being punked. It just doesn't make sense. All right. Who else haven't I played?
Well,
yet?
that really
we got
that really hurt my feelings because I do it out of love. I know that bad things get said, but I really want it to go good and have something and be something that Joe enjoys, and I do think he deserves it. And we're going to talk about it later. There's actually another podcast that's obsessed with him. So, I mean, there's actually two podcasts that are, obsessed with this guy, and he is big enough for it. And I'm not trying to make this like some super huge thing, but if it becomes that would be cool. That was very upsetting to me. And some things are going on, okay? My transition from male to female is going not great. I'm bald, and I don't know how that's going to work out. Like, it's horrifying. And also I'm upset about something that happened to Joe and something that is ongoing happening to Joe. It's affecting my mood. And so I called in, like, that last clip we heard of Joe, that was like him, like, yelling at me. My man was, like, yelling at me. I'm, like, here, like, Daddy, look, I got this podcast about you. And he's yelling at me. And it was like his real feelings came out at the end there. Like, he's being punked and stuff like that. And I think he should just be into it. So I call in, because now the relationship, it's like almost our first fight. And I call in and I try to butter him up. You know what I mean? Get back on his good side. Let's hear that now, episode 35.
I just have one. That's it.
Hey Joe, how you doing? This is Karen calling from Philly. Just chilling tonight. There's like 1,000 retweets of all this stuff about you on Twitter. I really wish you had like 5 or 6 or 7 shows a week. 5 or 6 or 7 podcasts a week. That would be a lot of fun for the listeners. Some weird things happened, but I don't feel like going into them yet. But some good news is I'm taking the highest dose that my doctor gives out of estrogen now, taking 6 milligrams a day. But truthfully, my transition isn't going that great. I'm not really feminizing that much. So, I gotta talk to my doctor about why, and maybe ask him to give me shots of estrogen instead of pills. I don't know. I'll keep you abreast of the situation. No pun intended.
I was gonna say it.
Sorry if I've been real weird lately.
You have not been weird,
Don't
Karen.
really need to be.
We're behind you, Karen, here at the Fixing Joe podcast.
Don't really have a lot to look forward to.
Come on.
In my life.
Oh, no.
Except for the stuff I get to do as a fan of yours. Even though I walk into a lot of trouble sometimes with it. You know what I mean?
No.
Like you feel you're being punked or whatever.
Oh, okay, yeah, I do.
It's real weird to me, and I'm sorry. I just want to say I'm a fan. I wouldn't do that. And it'll just work itself out.
Is that it? Oh, my God. I hope she's okay. Karen, come on. We love you here.
Aw.
We hope you're doing
That's
great.
sweet.
Come on. We're 100% behind you in this transition. I'm enjoying your phone calls. I'm a fan of you too, Karen. Okay?
Aw.
You know that, don't you? I hope you do, though. I hope you know that. Come on. You know how I have to end the podcast. I mean, come on. Karen, if you're ever feeling down, this is all you need to do. These 3 things.
And when people say to me, how do you get through life or each day is the same thing? To me, there are 3 things we all should do every day. If we do this every day of our life, you're going to have, what a wonderful, number 1 is laugh. You should laugh every day. Number 2 is think. You should spend some time in thought. And number 3 is you should have your emotions moved to tears. Could be happiness or joy. But think about it. If you laugh, you think, and you cry, that's a full day. That's a heck of a day. You do that 7 days a week, you're going to have something special.
And, I take estrogen, so that's not a problem. So, okay, it's all leading up to these things are in my mind. First, my man yelled at me, and then he kind of like supported me. And I remember when I used to date women, I mean, I could still date women, but I remember when I used to date women as a guy, you always have this sequence where you're like, what's wrong? Come on, what's wrong? Something's bothering you. What's wrong? Nothing. So I think I decided to go into that mode. And I called in again. Something was on blast, too. We're going to get into that shortly. But this was the 3rd call of the triangle of emotions.
Oh, jeez. We got something from Karen from Philly, but they're both long. I'll play a little bit of this one. See what she's got.
Hey, Joe, how are you? It's Karen called from Philly. It's Saturday night. It's late. I'm gonna go to bed soon. It's hard for me to sleep right now. Really amped up. You probably did your shows. You probably done your shows at Governor's. I hope that went well.
Very well.
I've been tripping out about some things.
What?
But, I don't want to go into them.
Come on, go into them.
This is like interactive.
Just giving me a headache.
Headaches? You all right? You all right, Karen?
Just playing low this weekend. Betting on basketball and stuff.
I would love to see that, to just come over your house
Anyway.
and watch you watching basketball.
Yeah, I'm tripping out.
You're tripping out?
Oh no. It's hard. It's real hard.
All right, you're depressing us, Karen. I hope you're okay. You seemed so good. Was that a week ago? 2 weeks ago? You seemed great. What has changed, Karen? I hope you go to therapy of some sort and talk this over with a therapist, because this is a lot. What you're doing here. I mean, it's so much that most people couldn't wrap their brains around it. And you're doing it, which we commend you for. Okay? I don't have a problem with it whatsoever. It's your choice. Okay? But I hope you're seeing a doctor and able to talk this out. And you're not just trusting that leaving voicemails on the Fixing Joe hotline is your therapy. I hope you're seeking a professional. Okay? That's my little advice to you, Karen. All right, let's go to...
I really appreciate that, Joe. I do have a lot of resources. I have 2 therapists and a group and a different support group and a case manager and a regular doctor. So the trans experience is very intense, but I really appreciate you having that kind of concern. But in all honesty, what has been bothering me is the situation with you and Red Bar. And I know that it's a topic that you're not into. You don't discuss it on your show, but we discussed it last week here, and I'm really sick of those guys. And there was like a nauseating experience that happened last Saturday when I became aware that Red Bar radio show was calling comedy clubs pretending to be you. And I thought that was a horrible thing, and it really blew my mind. And so I thought that was really low class, and I was scared for you. So, like, I don't know you, and I felt like I wanted to, like, call you so bad, but I also didn't want to tell you because you had shows that night at Governor's, and I didn't want to, like, ruin the shows. I know, I've done stand-up, and, like, I just felt really bad. Like I wanted you to, like, call around to all the shows, all the clubs, and, like, tell them that these people were doing that and to not believe them. A+, you're a Red Bar fan. What do you have to say about the subject?
Well, by the time you knew about it, it was already over. It wasn't that much of a big deal. It was a prank. Is it kind of mean? Yeah. Did they ruin his career? No. Did they cost him any money? No. Nobody even believed, past the kid answering the phone, nobody really believed that it was Joe Matarese. I think maybe one place did.
Do you remember their name?
And no, I don't know.
Village Underground?
So, no, I don't. I've never heard of that.
Okay.
So I just thought it was a prank. I
And they're really,
what are you gonna do?
They're really mean. Like, they have this, like, really goofy caricature drawn of him, and the whole time they're talking about him, and they talk about him for hours on end. We can't even do it, as witnessed by this episode.
They don't anymore.
Well, that's only because something drastic happened. Now they're in a new battle. something happened with something happened with Kumia now, right?
So what was I going to say? Okay, so they were talking about Joe because there was that whole thing going on, and then they stopped, and then maybe during the show every once in a while somebody will crack a joke about Joe Matarese. It's harmless. They don't say anything worse than what I say about him in here.
Well, they've been real jerks, although strangely Mike has been very cool. Mike of Red Bar has been very cool to me. Not very cool, but he direct messaged me on Twitter and told me that he liked our show. And then the other night, I asked a philosophical question of him. I wasn't trying to, like, start up a Twitter debate. I asked he was hawking T-shirts on. They always make fun of Joe for all his fan-funded projects, but yet he was on Twitter hawking a T-shirt. So I asked him, how is that different? Just in a nice, polite way. and he said about $11,000 different. I don't know what that meant. Is he saying he sold way more than Joe?
I mean, I don't know what he meant by that. Most people think there is a difference between having merch to promote your show that you sell to your fans and just saying, hey, could you please give me some money? There's a big difference.
Well, so, and Mike told me to stay positive, and I said the same to him with a but I just want to throw this out there, Mike. You've been very cool to me, but when it comes to like what you've done in show business versus what Joe Matarese has done, Joe Matarese has made hundreds of thousands of dollars more at the entertainment industry than you. So let's not forget that. I wish you the best in your career, and I hope you can come to some conclusion that maybe you're obsessed too with Joe Matarese and turn it into a positive. I really think so, and I really want Joe to come in on that too and be positive and mention Red Bar on his shows to say, hey, I can deal with it, and have it not be some big dirty secret.
I'm a little bit annoyed at what you guys are talking about people calling around the comedy clubs, and that's fucking crossing the line, dude. I'm really annoyed. I was kind of getting caught up in interesting parts of your show, and I almost didn't call, but now I'm a little pissed. Fuck that. That's bullshit.
Okay, if you could just sorry, for the cursing. Yeah. I don't know what goes on, but we try not to have that on the show.
Yeah, I forgot. I'm very sorry, man.
Cool.
I'm just really annoyed, man. And then I want to go back to the story I told about Joe and everything, and I'm sure it was all in a positive way. It wasn't taken out of context, but the guy's a good comic, and he's a good guy, and no one deserves to have their work messed around with.
Well, there's a school of thought, Damon, that and we talked about this in episode 1. There's a potential, and I don't know about it, so now I'm really treading on crazy waters, but there's a potential that Joe interfered in their commerce in talking to Kumi and all, but that wasn't ever, that was just speculated. So I could see them wanting to have revenge, but I don't like what they did, and I don't.
That's very sinister.
Yeah, it was very sinister, and also the caricature that was drawn on the screen was really mean too. So.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Why is everybody such a... Listen, Damon, I understand what they did with the calling clubs pretending to be Joe. My initial reaction to that was, oh my God, dude, that's probably something you shouldn't do. And like I said, it's not a nice thing to do. You guys didn't hear the show. They were not successful. It's not something that they were even doing seriously. Mike was laughing through parts of it, totally blowing his cover. They didn't do any damage. Had they done damage, I would feel differently about it. I think it's a crappy thing to do. And you, Miss Thang, the animation that Sven drew of Joe is super cute. And who cares? Why does that bother you?
Because he's like bald, and it's like makes fun of his Italian heritage.
Oh,
all right, well, Damon, we thank you for calling. We're going to move on into our next segment.
Bald.
Yeah, no, he's not.
Oh, okay.
Damon, thanks for calling in, brother.
Okay, so first thing that I want to talk about was the NIAF Italian event that he went to in New York.
Right.
Okay, I don't care about the event, whatever. But so he had to buy a suit for this thing, and this is the part that I like. So he went to Banana Republic to get his suit. And just a funny side story, while on his way there, while he was there, whatever, he got a call that his kid was sick at school and needed to be picked up. But he had to leave his kid there while he went to go get his suit. I thought that was pretty funny. So he goes to get the suit because they were 40% off. There was a big sale at Banana Republic. So he gets the 40% off. And then he says, I could save more money if I open a credit card. So then he gets another 10% off. So now he's got this 50% off suit. So this cheap bastard gets a suit. He paid $230 total for his suit that he's wearing to this, big event with all these rich dudes. And then, so he's all bragging about his discounts and then says, well, I'm going to return it. And see, that's the stuff he does that makes me want to smack him in the face. Why are you pestering these people to get discounts?
Take it easy. Okay.
Calm down. I'm doing my news over
okay,
here.
Cool. Yeah, I mean.
You're pestering people to get extra discounts, and you're just going to return it and get your $230 back anyway.
Well, that's in his past. He has done this a lot.
He does it a lot.
This is almost like a sickness. I'm very against this because.
I'm done.
Oh my God! Can we get a sponsorship from Ludens? I don't know if. But anyway, I feel very strongly, Joe, that I don't want you buying and returning clothes anymore. Like when he goes on Letterman or any kind of TV appearance, he buys a new outfit and then returns it when he's done. And I mean, it's just traumatic. As someone I've worked in retail. As someone who works in retail, like it makes my skin crawl. What else you got?
So I guess last night, was it last night or next week? The Sopranos watch party.
Oh boy.
For Mr. Matarese and his super fans, except no one invited Karen.
I know, it's so weird.
I don't understand. Do they think you don't know the Sopranos?
Well, no. Well, I've seen every Sopranos show, like episode, like maybe 10 times. I'm a really big fan. I know what's going on here. They don't know at what stage I am, like in presenting and stuff, and they don't want to have one of these get-togethers with someone in cross-dressing and stuff like that. They want to get together and have like a guys' night. So they're not even thinking of bringing me because I'm sort of like the, I'm still like under the category creepy with my obsession. You know what I mean?
He doesn't want to get stuck in a hotel room with you.
Yeah, well, these people don't know like what I'm capable of. And I'm totally harmless, but like, it's like it's still what is going on there. You know what I mean? So I can understand, but really, they would love me. I love to like watch The Sopranos, and like I love to wager for amusement purposes only on sports and.
Well, yeah, they were gonna cook some food. I think they said they were gonna.
Well, that's gay.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Everyone's bringing a dish.
But it is weird.
But they were gonna play cards and watch The Sopranos. You know how to play cards and.
Oh yeah, I'm good. I love poker. Yeah.
Loved all of that,
so, but I have a feeling like. I have a feeling like I see their reasoning in like freezing me out. It kind of hurts not to even be invited, not to even know how this is all going on. Like, how do they? I'm not even in like the
what are they,
message chain.
Yeah.
So I'm really out of the mix. But that's okay because we're all sort of on our own island here, and I kind of like that. Okay. I didn't like not being able to contact him. By the way, that was real scary talking about Red Eye, like so in depth. Like I was really jolted coming out with that. I'm glad we did though.
What are you talking about?
When we were not Red Eye, Red Bar, yeah.
Oh.
That was like really upsetting. So I lost my cookies during that episode, like during that conversation. Like I was very emotional.
Well, it's emotional for me now too because I'm in a different place myself with Red Bar than I was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
We may have come to a place in our relationship, me and Mike and Sven.
Yeah.
Where I might.
Oh, sorry to bring it back up. Yeah.
So let's.
What else you got?
For that.
All right. Well, we should address the elephant in the room first, real quick. We don't have any longer my trusty sidekick A+, who did such a great job on the show. A+ and I are having a little creative difference right now, and she's sticking to her guns. She doesn't want to come on. I've asked her to not talk about a certain topic that I'm not going to bring up here. It's just, if you listen to episodes 2 and 3, we had some heartfelt talks about something, and I'm ready to put that to bed. And she still doesn't want to be censored in that way, shape, or form, and has elected not to come on because of that. So was she fired? Yes. Did she quit? Yes. But she's definitely missed, and I want to thank her. She was amazing. And A+, if you're listening, I want to tell you that you are great at this, and you should definitely link on with another show. If not, you're always welcome to come back to this one as well. Any thoughts on A+ not being here?
Less coughing.
Okay, very cool. That is true. We're not going to get our sponsorship from Halls, but we're going to keep on moving on. First off, Rob, I don't know if you know it, but in the ever-changing world of Joe Matarese, he did a podcast this morning at 2 a.m., episode 43. Are you aware of that?
Yes, I listened to it last night. Yeah.
He had been ready to quit comedy, which we all know is BS. He's not actually going to quit. But now he's back with a vengeance, he says. So, Joe really had an emotional episode in 42. As you know, his development deal went kaput. But it wasn't really that big of a development deal in a sense that he had mentioned that like early in his career, he got like $200,000 for his development deal, and he used that money to like buy a house and woo his then girlfriend, soon to be wife. She had the assumption that he was always going to be rolling in big dough. So anyway, he was in a down mood, and he cried or almost cried on 42. What did you think of that?
I figured Artie'd be able to cheer him up, and I thought it was a good appearance on Artie's podcast. Artie really glowed about him, talked about how great he was, and he's a master comic. And
okay, well, there's a question I want to ask you though, and I thought it was kind of stunning. You urged him on Patreon to quit.
It takes such a toll on him, That's what I said. I said sometimes I think it might be better if you hung up the mic, because it's mentally it really wears on him.
But
that was kind of my take.
Yeah,
on
no,
it.
And I totally respect that. I disagree, of course, but I respect it. But I just can't picture Joe doing a regular job in any way, shape, or form, even if it was like pharmaceutical sales. Like his wife makes a lot of money. She should be behind him. She is, and that's it. And we're going to keep the party going. You know what I mean? That's how I feel. We didn't get invites to the Sopranos party, and I'm cool with it. I spoke last episode about how I felt about it. You kind of took offense, right?
Yeah, kind of. I thought everyone in Joe's, that subscribed would at least hear the plans, and if you could make plans to be there or whatever. But then it turned into like this covert group.
Well, Chris from Ashland wrote me something really nice on Facebook. He said, Karen, I want to set the record straight because I was the one who set up the recent hangout with Joe and the guys. Back in February, we went to see Joe perform in New York City and got together before the show and hung out after. We all had a great time, so we plan to do it again. While Joe has referred to it as a superfan hangout, and it is, we are all superfans. It really is more of a bros hang, a boys' night out. All of us that hung out have no problem at all with you, Karen. We all like you and respect you and wish you well. Please do not feel like you were left out. You weren't. But they don't know me as, my boy persona, which is running out of time.
Oh, they have a picture of you
as Karen,
lady.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and they hear me calling in and being a Psycho fan and everything. So they just didn't want that at like some sort of like butchy macho get together. So Joe had an episode, a big argument with his wife when he lost his development deal. Development deal is sort of like a holding deal. Normally they're lucrative. Joe's wasn't, but he had one in hopes of it turning into something. But it ended abruptly, and he was having problems with his agent, and he went into a funk like he often does. And he was like a real jerky kind of vibe, but understandable around his wife and kids. And he stormed out of the car, slammed the car door shut, and said the F word, and his daughter called him evil. But he bounced back. They're all getting along again. Although his wife says that he should go on a higher dose of Celexa. He's on 10 milligrams. I take 40 milligrams, so I can't believe he always talks about Celexa and he's only on 10. So he's real down in the dumps. Now he wants to come back and take over his own career again. But he's actually got good things going on. He's doing a lot of corporate gigs, and he had one out in Iowa. And these corporate gigs pay really well, and they're quite the contrary to some of these local gigs at like firehouses and senior centers that he's been complaining about. All right, now you're welcome. The big thing that happened, I know you want to tread carefully here, but it needs to be said, and we'll handle it with class. We always do. You did a drawing of Joe Matarese that captured a certain mood of his, which was like that he often has, which is like downtrodden and quasi grumpy, and you did that out of your talents, and then you put that on Twitter and to his attention. And what happened?
Yeah, he says, what's this picture called? The cock blocker? That's flattering portrait.
Yeah, and so instead of saying thank you and enjoying this piece of art, which is like he sort of like censored it, which is like something they're not even doing. Like Vladimir Putin wouldn't do that in Russia. Like so, he. But you're a really cool guy. You immediately took it down, and I saw it and I saved it, but I'm not putting it out because obviously Joe hates it. So you did another one, and tell us about that.
Well, I wouldn't say he's censoring me. I would say that if I'm not in communication with these people and I'm picking out a picture that I like, it's not always going to be the exact same one that they do. So I totally get that if he doesn't like the picture.
Well, let me ask you.
I just messaged him. Yeah, go ahead.
In your career, has anyone ever said like, "Don't use that one. It's a cock block"? I mean, it doesn't sound plausible. Has any comedian ever said? Has any comedian ever said like, "Don't use that one"?
Well, I mean, I've only been drawing the comics here for like a few months. I've been on that kick, but no, that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah. Joe Matarese. Okay, now we're going to play sounds. Joe is finally involved with our podcast. We're going to play a clip of Joe recommending our podcast.
All right, let's stop there. So, yeah, check out their podcast if you want. I still haven't heard it yet. They do a podcast all about my podcast, which still blows my mind, or I don't know how they can get listeners to that. I'm amazed. That'd be funny if they had more listeners than me. Wouldn't that be classic? More people listen to the Karen from Philly's fan podcast. That would be classic. All right, let's see who else we got here.
And soon after that, on a show, Joe did admit to listening. Well, he announced it on Twitter that he was going to listen. He listened to episode 3, the first 20 minutes, which is more than I thought he would admit to listening. There's still a possibility he's listened to everything, but we want to believe him. But he did listen to the first 20 minutes of episode 3, and on a later podcast, he said about our show, he said, "By the way, I started listening to their Homage to Me podcast. I got to get through the rest of it, but it was better. It was better than I expected. Maybe because I've been in a good place the last couple weeks, but I didn't get to hear the girl shit on me that much. Maybe because I was listening to episode 3, maybe she toned it down with shitting on me. And of the show in general, he said, it blows my mind."